Morning, Carson.
Morning.
Morning, Karen.
Hi, Paul DeRocher. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Busier than ever.
Right.
I know, it's crazy.
You doing anything fun this summer?
Well, we're going to attempt to go to Vail tomorrow
Oh, nice.
to meet my colleague from the Western Slope. We've been trying to do this for 2 weeks now. Kathy Hall, who's on the commission with me, she's the vice chair of the commission, and we planned this meet in Edwards, have a picnic lunch and talk things through, and it's been postponed, so we've got it on the agenda for tomorrow. That'll be the most fun that I've had this year.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a great time. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it's been interesting times. Well, there's a great looking guy just joined us.
Where?
Looks like somebody with an iPhone raised their hand. I'm not sure if they want to speak, but there's no name accounted for it.
Good morning, guys. You sound very happy this morning. This is Joyce.
Hi, Joyce. Haven't talked to you in about 12 hours. That's
I
it.
know, I know. Right about the same time of day, too.
Exactly. Hi, Malcolm. How are you?
I'm well. Good morning,
Good.
Karen. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Kevin Stanbridge, we see you.
Hi, Karen. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Hi, Kevin. Great for you to join us. Thank you.
I'll be well behaved on mute.
Okay. That's the only way, huh?
Yes.
Do we see our chair?
All right. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Sorry about that.
All right. How are you?
Doing okay. I'm hanging in there this morning. All right. I think we should get started. I think we got everybody together, and thanks everybody for using the chat box to introduce yourself. So the first item on our agenda is approval of the July 23rd NATA minutes. So these were sent out on Monday by Karen via email, so I hope everyone got a chance to look at them. Are there any edits that anybody has on the minutes? And if so, just throw them out there. Okay. I'm not seeing any, so can I get approval of the July 23rd minutes, please?
I would move for approval.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Julie, when people make a motion and a second, could they please identify themselves? Because we're taking minutes and we can't determine who the second was on that one.
Thank
I think it
you.
was Malcolm.
Okay, thanks, Malcolm. Thanks, everybody. All right, on to the treasurer's report.
So, hi, this is Joan. As you can see, the report is up and we have a balance of, let me get this chat room out of the way, $17,945.54 as of 7/31 at the end of July. with the dues being $21,600 and payments of, you can see membership administrative services website and retreat costs of $36,893.29 with the available cash as the total of $17,945.54. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Joan? I'm not seeing any. And Karen, we need a motion for this, I'm assuming as well? To approve
Yes,
the treasurer's
please.
report? All right, can I get a motion, please?
Hi, this is Joyce, and I'll move for approval.
Thanks, Joyce.
Jessica, second.
Thanks, Jessica. All right. Everyone who is in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed of the treasurer's report? All right. Moving on. Thank you so much. So we have a smart commute update. Karen and team.
Well, thanks very much, Molika. We wanted to give you a short update today about our 8th annual Transform event. As you know, we do these every year. We've always had them in person. Last year, we did them at Amazon, had about 200 people attend. And this year's a little different. This year, it's going to be a virtual event. We are going to feature in our event this year the celebration of RTD's N-Line. Later on in the agenda, Pauletta Chanillis is going to talk about what the event is going to look like for RTD on September 21st. This Transform event will be a little different in that we're going to talk about the history of N-Line. We'd like to focus on a few of the stations like Welby and Eastlake, some of the others, have some background on the N-Line. We'd like to feature the artists and their artwork, and then some of the construction highlights. We'll work with RTD to get a drone flyover. We featured a drone flyover before the N-Line before it was completed, and so we'll work with RTD to get a drone flyover for that event as well. And then we're going to put out I should say, we're also going to have a speaker talking about the future of rail travel, future of train travel, focusing more on things that I've heard about how the future is going to be transformative in that the kinds of vehicles that will be used for train travel in the future might look very differently than they do today, and what the prognosis is for continued train travel throughout the world, really. So we'll get a speaker for that. And then we're doing a commemorative book that will feature the history, the artists, some of the construction, and everybody through the years that have been involved in this massive undertaking to get the N-Line open up here and serving the Adams County area and the North metro area. So we're really excited about that. The Transform will be open to everyone. We're going to do it on October 22nd. October 22nd is a NATA meeting. We'll have the NATA meeting from 7:30 till just about 8:30, and then Transform will start at 8:30. And we'll open it up to anybody who wants to participate. There won't be a cost to do this. And the sponsorship for this is all the members of Smart Commute who have a membership arrangement with Smart Commute will be the sponsors of this 8th annual, very different Transform than we've had in the past. We're looking to you guys today, if anybody has any history that they want to share with us on the different stations, the Welby area, the Eastlake area, the North Glen area, any of that, or any photographs that they want to share, please contact me or contact Carson. We want to get this book put together. The book is going to be self-published, and we think we can do it for a fairly reasonable amount of money. And anybody who participates in this will get a copy of the book. And people who have been involved in line for a long time will get a copy of the book. We'll make it available to people. I think that this will be an exciting opportunity to really highlight what we've been able to accomplish on the N line. It's been a long time coming. The vote was in 2004, and the groundbreaking was in 2014, and now we're finally opening the line through the hard work of a lot of people, but through the persistence and diligence and advocacy of lots and lots of people, many of whom are on the screen today. I can see you there. So I'm happy to take any questions on this. This is going to be our big push forward in the next month.
All right. Any questions anybody has for Transform? It sounds like an exciting lineup, even though it's going to be online. It's a little modified this year, but I think it's still going to be a lot of fun. Any questions for Karen? I'm really actually looking forward to the book. I think the book is going to be a great opportunity for all of us to kind of capture that journey that we've been on.
And I'd like to turn it over to Carson. He's going to give us a quick update on Bike to Work Day in Gotober.
Thanks, Karen. I will keep it short, but just for an update's sake, Bike to Work Day is now Bike to Wherever Week. As we move to an online virtual event, they're going to try to push people biking in different ways every day during the week of September 21st. And we're thinking we'll be able to allow people to take their bike to the end line as they can ride it for free that week. So we're looking forward to that event, and we hope that all of your cities will partner with us on that this year, virtually online via social media. Gotober Challenge, annual commute challenge from My Way to Go, is happening again this year with a pretty hefty focus on teleworking, as you can all imagine. I think the idea here is to really understand better from a company perspective and from a regional perspective just how impactful teleworking can be in terms of vehicle miles traveled reduction and improved air quality. So keep an eye out for that. I know a lot of you have participated in the past with your organizations and cities. So we would love to participate with you again this year. And that is all I have, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Smart Commute staff? Or comments? Okay. All right, thank you guys for those updates. I appreciate it. So next on our agenda is a update for the RTD Accountability Committee meeting. So we had a meeting on August 24th. It really was it was a good discussion meeting. We were really just kind of solidifying some of our guidelines and those bylaws that were in there. We did decide to do public comments for, I think it was 20 minutes, 2 minutes per speaker for those meetings. We also had a long discussion about subcommittee formation. So right now there's 3 subcommittees that folks are going to be able to participate in. And we had a long discussion about what are those subcommittees going to cover. So the subcommittees are going to be the operations subcommittee, the finance subcommittee, and then the governance subcommittee. And so there was a lot of discussion about the operations subcommittee actually being very robust and covering maybe too much, too many different aspects in there. So we're going to see how that kind of settles out in the end. But finance committee is, pretty straightforward, and then the governance committee, and that's where we're going to be really looking at the district's partnerships with other local governments. And so we didn't decide who is going to be on those committees. There was a survey, if you will, sent out yesterday, just asking those committee members which committees you're interested in. One important aspect of the conversation around committees was the idea of equity and making sure that that conversation doesn't belong just to one subcommittee, that it's actually a broader conversation, and that each committee needs to make sure that the decisions and the recommendations that they're putting forth goes through an equity lens. And so there was a, I guess, working group, if you will, of folks, and I volunteered for this, who are going to come together with some value statements that could really help drive that work and that lens that we look at the work we're doing through an equity lens. So I think that that's going to be really interesting coming forward as that group meets, and then the subcommittees probably start meeting. I'm hoping next week, but we'll see. I haven't heard of any kind of scheduling beyond just our regular meeting, so I don't know when the subcommittees are first going to meet. I'm hoping it's next week because we have lots of work to do and lots of work to get going on. So for the most part, that was a lot of the discussion in our meeting. And I feel like it just helped create the strong foundation that we needed to move forward. We also had a Reimagine presentation, which included just updates of that process that I think this group has already seen. And then of course the news that we're going to be putting that on hold. And then there was a lot of discussion about the RTD general manager selection, of just, you know, updates of where we're at. And so that is big news that I'm not gonna take up. I'm gonna kick that off to our RTD directors in just a second. But yeah, so it was a great discussion as a group. Our next meeting's in 2 weeks, and then subcommittee should be meeting soon. That is my report. Does anybody have any other questions about the RTD Accountability Committee so far? If you are interested, the agendas are on the DRCOG website, and the meetings are recorded, so you can see that there as well, for those who were interested. All right, I'm not seeing any hands or anything in the text box, so let's move on. So update and discussion on RTD director and open seat for District I.
Thanks, Chair. This was something we discussed at SPC, and I'm wondering if I could throw this to Deborah.
Yes.
Great. And so Deborah can give us an overview of what we're talking about here, and I'll hand it over to Deborah. Thanks.
Sure. If there's a Longmont rep or Brimfield rep, they may be aware of this. So the RTD statute requires, just like other candidates, you receive a certain amount of signatures that are then certified by the Secretary of State in order to qualify for the budget. There was only one gentleman who put forth his name and collected signatures, and his signatures, when they were cured, he was not found to have enough signatures to qualify for the ballot. What the RTD statute then says is that that seat, oh, there's Councilwoman Peck, she may want to jump in. I'm just sort of dealing with the basics. So the RTD statute says that seat will then be appointed by the county commission that has the most voters in the districts, because the district may be in multiple counties. So in this case, it's in Boulder County, Broomfield, and Adams. I believe there's a smidge of the District I. So now the process is the Boulder County Commissioners will hold a process. I don't believe they have to appoint until there's an actual vacancy. So Judy, what we're assuming, is going to serve through her term. So sometime later this year, or I suppose they could even wait till the seat was actually vacant early next year, the Boulder County Commissioners will solicit nominations and will consider those people that put themselves forward. The last time this happened is when Chuck Sisk, the former mayor of Louisville, was appointed to the RTD vacancy seat. And there was competition. There were 3 people that really championed that they want to get in. It's interesting, this is opining or political history, but running, as any of you know that are elected officials, running for office is different than serving in office. So people that are like, wow, I don't have to run and campaign, just appoint me and I'll do the job. There could be a different candidate pool that might be interested in that. So that's what I know. There isn't anything specific from Boulder County about timing. So now the opportunity is for the communities to recruit candidates they think could serve them well and lift them up to make their case for why they should be appointed. I believe that's the backstory.
Anything you'd like to add, Joan?
Thank you, Deborah. That was great. Actually, not much other than the fact that this is really, really an important position for our district. And going forward, if anybody knows of someone that they feel would be qualified and interested in what the Northwest Corridor and this area is working on, please encourage them to apply. We need really good candidates. So thank you.
Yeah, it is an interesting situation. So does anybody else have any questions or comments they want to make around the District I pending vacancy
So-
after much later? But
Hi, Julie. This is
hey,
Liz
Liz.
in Broomfield, and I this is something I've actually thought about a little bit. So I'd be interested in having more conversations with Joan or Deborah or whomever, and think about this. I have to check with our attorney as to whether I can. My term is up November 21, so I'd have to check with people, but I'd be interested in discussing.
No, that would be fantastic. We definitely need a strong champion in this seat. And so that would be, yeah, great if you're interested to throw your name in the hat. That would be great. Thank you. All right. Any other questions about District I? Okay. So we're going to be moving on to our RTD director's comments. So we have a group of you guys here as usual, and there's a number of things on our agenda. So we have FISA, we have, of course, the new general manager, and then we have the Reimagine Pause. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide who wants to tackle what subject, but thank you all for being here, and who's going to kick us off?
I guess we could have a virtual arm wrestling match between Vince and I. I know he'd win. I actually, I'm fine with Vince starting off. I have a couple of comments regarding the accountability committee, Julie, but I'll just start with the GM CEO, and Vince can add in on that and FISA and other odds and ends. Obviously, we have at least our 15 minutes of fame or positive news, because we know we've got some pretty heavy lifting this fall with a number of issues financially. But we had a tremendous candidate pool, as you probably most of you witnessed, for our CEO position. And, one of the things you learn as RTD director is some things about inside baseball. And believe it or not, and we've heard this on a number of occasions, and I think this is proof, RTD is really held in fairly high regard in the transit industry. And I guess the proof of that is the type of people that we had apply, even knowing the challenges that are ahead. But obviously, there's many challenges for most transit agencies, no matter where you go, with economics and COVID and ridership changes. But we had a great pool of, I think we were on 18. Vince was on the committee. Really good people. Got down to 7, then 6 with somebody departing. The 6 finalists were outstanding. It was not easy to get to 3, and it certainly was not easy to get to 1. And I just got to tell you, I'm very pleased with my colleagues and the staff in the process. It was very flawlessly handled by our co-chairs of that committee. Lynn Geisinger, who may be on the call, was a vice chair, and Peggy Catlin did a great job of shepherding the cats to try and get this process done. Our 3 finalists, all females with immense track records, great experience, a bit of diversity in experience, which was both great and maybe made it a little more complicated to kind of see which direction really we needed to go. And in the end, we had a pretty resolute board on our selection of Deborah Johnson from Long Beach, and we just look forward to getting her in the door. And we appreciate those of you that weighed in. We did have, I think, Vince, over 700 comments. Not a lot from key stakeholders, but it was a quick turnaround. And, you know, I know you guys are busy, so we would have liked to had a little more, but the issue is timing. So we realize that. So yeah, we look forward to Deborah's hiring date, and we don't know when that'll be. Negotiations are underway for salary and benefits and start date. So I'll come back to other issues if needed, but I'd certainly like to let Vince or any others that are on the call speak to that process and some of the other ones. So go ahead, Muscles.
Thanks, Troy. Yeah, the GM search was quite a process. Seemed like RTD 24/7 for for a couple of months there. We were meeting constantly, even though you're meeting remotely. It's just a constant grind to get through a lot of issues, but we did, and we're looking forward to Deborah Johnson coming on board, and I think she's going to bring a fresh perspective and new ideas to RTD, and something we need. So we're looking forward to that. I'll touch on some of the other stuff, the FISA and the budget. So as you may know, we're facing a $166 million budget shortfall for 2021, and we're making plans on how to address that. Our general manager, Paul Ballard, put together a task force and is socializing the results of that task force to the directors. These recommendations will be coming to us fairly soon, and some of these recommendations are going to be quite aggressive. So you'll hear more about that when it becomes public. And that kind of goes into the FISA, and a couple of us, at least, Troy and I, and some others, have been carrying the NATA message to the rest of the board with regard to the shortfall, and the hope that NATA is going to be left alone and not used to offset budget shortfalls. We've got about 130-ish million dollars in the NATA account now, and future contributions anywhere in the roughly in the 20-ish million dollar a year contribution. So the board and staff are looking at touching that, obviously, either the future contributions or even some of the corpus, some of the balance. And we're pushing back. It's going to be a tough push because there's only so much money, and money has to come from somewhere. But Troy and I will continue to carry the message that we need to leave FISA alone. It's much like our Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare trust fund. You can't just raid these types of things to balance budgets. So, you can understand the tension there. So, also reimagine. So reimagine, we're looking at the future of mobility and all of that, and then COVID strikes. So do we, what does the future of mobility look like during and after the pandemic? That's the new look now, and not the look of what happens when we're done with that. So it seems reasonable that we put a pause on the reimagine process, because the concept of reimagine was to look at long term. What's RTD going to look like in the future? And we don't know what the future is going to look like. So, I mean, obviously you've got to project what the future could be, but the pandemic has completely changed that dynamic and what that can look like. So, we don't know, even after the pandemic is over, there's a vaccine in place, how many people are going to go back to work? How many companies are going to say this remote stuff is okay? We don't need much transit because people are going to be working from home. I don't know that that's going to be the case, at least long term. So no one knows. So that's why we're pausing things. And we're going to let the pandemic stuff play out some more. Some of the changes, getting back to I alluded to some changes that are coming with regard to the budget. One thing I think I can reveal is that there will not be any more service cuts coming out of as a result of the budget shortfall. And that's because the board passed recently a number of guiding budgetary principles with regard to how we look at the budget shortfalls as a result of the pandemic. And the overriding principle that we agreed upon is that service cuts will not be the first way to balance your budget. That's going to be the absolute last way that we look at budget savings. So hopefully coming out of this, the pandemic service plan is going to continue for a while. This 40% reduction that we've seen, that's going to continue unchanged. The only change will be probably shifting some services around, because during this pandemic plan that went into effect in April and moving forward, we now have some good data on what routes are really being used versus routes that are really not being used at all. So we're going to shift some of that service around temporarily, and we made sure that we're going to call this the Pandemic Service Plan 2, because it's temporary. We don't want people thinking this is going to be a permanent fix. So I think that's it. That's all I have on FISA Budget Reimagined. If there's any questions, happy to take them.
Yeah, we have a question from Jessica.
Thanks, Julie. I just want to say thanks to Troy and Vince just for keeping us updated on this process. I know there's been a lot of things going on. I felt like we really did have, even though it was a quick turnaround for the most part for the GM position, I did appreciate the link. We did share that with our constituents last week. I know several people said they filled it out. So even though it was a quick turnaround, I feel like there was as much involvement as we could have possibly had. And then as far as Reimagine goes, you know, I have been a critic of that since day one, but I feel pretty confident knowing, Julie, that you're on the oversight committee and we've got some really good people on there. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to have two different groups doing two different things. So I'm really just confident knowing that you guys are doing the work that you're doing, and I know you'll share that with us. So makes sense to keep that on hold for now. And I just want to say thank you to both of you guys for putting up with all of us over the years of complaining and yelling and all that. So hopefully we'll move forward with this new GM and get things done with the oversight and rebuild reimagine our relationships up here in the north.
I like that tagline.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Reimagine, Jessica, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was an interesting discussion, and I have mixed emotions. You know, I think it does make sense to pause, but I don't want to throw all that hard work away. I don't want to take those connections and do away with those, because so many of you were very involved on that committee. And I see Director Williams is on the call, and she was not all that fond of the hiatus for Reimagine, and for some good reasons because of the hard work. But it just seems like now is the time to take a little bit of a respite with accountability committee and a new GM and some other odds and ends. So back to the accountability committee. There's two of us on the board that are ex officio members, so we don't weigh in a lot. I was trying to nominate Julie to be chair, but they wouldn't call on me. So, but I appreciate Julie's smiling face and input being there among others. But we do have co-chairs. Crystal Murillo, I think I said that correctly, from Aurora, and our commissioner from Lee Jones. And they tag team on the second meeting as chairs, and it went remarkably well, I thought. So yeah, we will be looking at weighing in as much as we can to help the accountability committee and look for giving it to them. That's all I have to share as well. I don't know if there's a call Vince or not that chime in before we move to the end line.
Well, and I do have a comment from Karen Stewart, if you want to jump in.
Thanks. I want to comment on the FISA again. So thanks for that report, Director Busick, on the FISA. I just want to reiterate that one of the important reasons that we don't want FISA decimated is the opportunity to use FISA as leverage for local match for anything that might come down from the federal government in stimulus funding or infrastructure funding or any of the other things. And if we don't have that local match sitting in an account that we can use for competing for those kinds of other dollars that may come through, then we've lost the opportunity to leverage service on those lines that aren't completed yet. And so we just want to reiterate how important it is to us up in this north area with unfinished projects, that FISA isn't only just an account to put some money into eventually build service. It's an account that is a leverage account. So just wanted to reiterate that as you fight for our retention of FISA and not sacrifice it to shortfall of the budget that is due to decisions that were made to fund other lines prior to ours. Thanks.
If I may, that's a great point, and point that Director Whitmore, Director Geisinger, and I have also made at our board meetings, our committee meetings on this as well. And there's at least one project that is simmering in the background that could be something that is useful that we could use those funds as a match for. And we need to keep those in place for that reason, at least for that reason.
And I do want to, since she's departing our board here later in the year, give a shout out to Judy Lubau on that very issue too, Vince, because she's carried that message a number of times. And I've really appreciated that. Thanks.
All right, thank you guys for those updates. Do we have any other questions or comments specific to our RTD directors that the group wants to share? All right, I'm not seeing any hands or anything in the chat. So thank you guys so much as always for being here and being champions for us. We're really lucky to have you guys in our corner as you continue to advocate for our needs up here in the north. So thank you again. All right, RTD inline opening activities. Paulette?
Hello, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Good morning. I am pleased to be here with you to talk about something that we're excited about in this crazy COVID times. This has been almost 6 months, right, of being just immersed in a very daunting time. Things have been very unsettled. There has been more negativity in our culture, I think, of late than there has been positivity. But what I'm happy to talk to you about right now is one of the very positive things that we can all embrace and celebrate, and that is the coming opening of the N line, which has been long awaited. And so I wanted to just give you an outline of what we have planned. Obviously, COVID has changed a lot about how we are going to do this. Carson, next slide, please. COVID didn't come with a playbook, and that includes with how we do our events. We have had to remain very nimble, very flexible, and we have all become experts at pivoting in everything we do in our work life and our personal life. And as a result of us planning this very important event, we have also had to be very nimble, and we have had to pivot. We have really thought through all the ways that we could potentially do this event to celebrate this milestone while also being respectful and mindful of the safety protocols that are in place right now. Limited capacity, having to do temperature checks, masks for everyone, being that we have a mask mandate statewide, and social distancing, which has taken on a whole different meaning for all of us. One of the key messages that RTD has pushed out through all of COVID has been asking the public to be our partners in safety, because really safety is a two-way street and we all need to embrace that. And so that has become our mantra. And as it relates to the planning of the inline opening and also the activities that we have planned, we're asking everyone involved to please be our partners in safety. Next slide, please. So as we have looked at how we march forward with the event, we have had to take into consideration the state of Colorado's restrictions and parameters as it relates to holding outdoor events and larger events. They require us to have a 12-foot grid, 12-foot social distancing between people on a given site. That's different than what we typically talk about with, which is the 6 feet of social distancing. But as it relates to the state's orders in terms of events, we have to maintain 12 feet between people. We also have to provide contact tracing and a number of other protocols, additional cleaning and such that we are required to do, much like what we're already doing at RTD within our facilities and of course on our buses and trains every day. Next slide, please. So what we have planned is a series of things, but as it relates to the day of, which is a big day for all of you, I know, which is Monday, September 21st, is a progressive train ride with the elected officials, dignitaries from the North Metro area and our board members. And this is what we typically do with all of our rail openings, where we start at Union Station and we will start the train ride and stop off at stations along the corridor where the communities have planned their own smaller scale community ribbon cuttings. And then those elected officials will hop on the train with us and go to the next stop and so on and so forth, all the way up to 124th and Eastlake. And that will be the location of our live in-person, very small scale special event on that day. The progressive train ride goes from about 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, the 21st. And then the ceremony we have scheduled to begin at 10 o'clock. That typically takes about an hour. We do have an established speaking program that follows the protocol of what we have done in the past, which is select elected officials. And we have directors Whitmore and Busick, Chair Rivera Malpiedi, our CEO, Paul Ballard, the mayors from along the corridor, and the chair of the Adams County Commission. We have invited the governor and our congressional members as well, and that would be fantastic, of course, if they would join us. But that is typically who speaks, and that is who we have planned to be part of the speaking program. This will be an invite-only event. We are not able to accommodate guests of the individuals that get invites or members of the public for COVID reasons. We've done a lot of thought about this and how to do it safely and thoughtfully, and our safety team, led by our Chief Safety and Security Officer, Mike Meter, has been our guidepost in all of this planning so that we can get everybody to a comfort level, so that we can respect the celebratory nature of this milestone, but also make sure that we're doing it safely and with respect to the pandemic that we're all experiencing. What we are going to do, however, is do a live stream of the event so that everybody can participate, and we will highly promote that piece of the event. But again, on the event day itself, this will be an invite only to elected officials along the corridor that have stations all along the corridor, and some of the other key stakeholders in the region, our board members, and really not a lot of RTD staff, very minimal RTD staff. And this is how we're able to achieve the requirements that we have, namely the social distancing mandate that we have to follow. Then at noon, we will start the free rides along the end line, and the free rides will continue through Sunday, September 27th. And then on Monday, September 28th, we will start the promotional fare pilot program that I know you're all aware of. And that will, of course, then carry on for 6 months, that promotional fare pilot program. Next slide. So this just gives you a little highlight of what I've talked about. On Thursday, September 17th, we actually do a few pre-rides, some special rides in the spirit of what we've done in our other rail line openings with dignitaries and officials, to give them a chance to be the first to see the corridor and experience that ride. And so we have some rides scheduled for that day on Thursday, September 17th, that is based on invite as well. And then I mentioned already the day of the opening and the events that we have planned, the free rides and the promotional fare pilot program, which will be a 6-month pilot. And then that will transition to our regular fare structure. Last slide. So just some final thoughts that I would leave you with in terms of this event is, obviously, this is a fantastic milestone. COVID's changed the world for all of us. So our grand opening will look a little different than what we typically do. The live stream, however, will provide an opportunity for widespread participation. And we really, again, have everybody's safety in mind. This is paramount to everything we're going to do that day. And I would never want this to be lost in the mix, that we all just really embrace what this is about, which is finally delivering the N line to the communities in the North Metro area. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you have. And again, thank you for the time, for allowing me to spend a few minutes updating you.
All right, any questions or comments for Pauletta? Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It was really, everyone was very excited about it, as you can imagine. And so I love seeing those extra details. I know that, my city was talking about this the other week, and, everyone's talking about their art, and, so there's lots of community excitement around this as well. So
There is.
yes, very excited to see this happening finally. Any questions? I'm not seeing any for Pauletta. So thank you, Pauletta, so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. So it looks like we're going to be moving on to CDOT, Statewide Transportation Plan highlights.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm Rebecca White. I'm the Director of Planning at CDOT. And I'm joined this morning, I think I saw him on, by Steve Harrelson, our Chief Engineer. Steve, are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, great. I think I also saw that Paul Jositis is on.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is Paul.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for inviting us today to talk about the plan. I'm so excited that we've reached the milestone of having a fully adopted set of planning documents. Many of you who work in this space know what a milestone that can be and how much work goes into that. So we're very, very pleased to be at this point and to have the chance to talk with you today. It's also so nice to see so many familiar faces. And is that Jean Putman? I think it is. I worked with Jean a long time ago in my early days at CDOT. It's good to see you again. So I won't talk for a long time today, but wanted to do a couple things, just give you an update on the plan, which was just adopted by our Transportation Commission last month, or this month, and we're still in August. And part of the reason our Chief Engineer is on is because we're very happy to have delivered one of the commitments we set out kind of at the beginning of this process to ensure that when we started to deliver projects in the plan, there was full transparency and accountability to our taxpayers and our stakeholders and how those projects were being delivered. So we've got a dashboard stood up that Steve will walk you through, that for every project that we put under construction shows exactly where it is, how much money it's spending, and what type of expenses. Because one thing we're trying very hard to do is limit pre-construction dollars and really focus as much of the funding on the actual construction. And that's one of our wildly important goals we've set for the department. So we want to track that. So Steve will be on to show you that kind of at the end. But if you could go to the next slide, I will walk you through the plan. So, when we started out it was May of 2019, which felt like a lifetime ago now, we were sort of hoping to do this plan a little bit differently. And that's mostly because I feel like part of my job at CDOT and the job of the entire planning team is to get better at this every single time we deliver a plan. I think at each iteration, we've changed things. And when we developed the 2040 plan, we really upped our video outreach and got together some stakeholder groups to connect with us, which was an accomplishment. In this plan, we wanted to go even further. And one of the commitments we made is we're going to touch every single county. And we did. We hit all 64 of Colorado's counties with in-person meetings and attended about 40 to 50 other meetings, county fairs, events like that. We stood in front of Walmarts and King Supers and caught people kind of just in their daily lives. So that was a real focus of this particular plan. And the other intention we had was to sort of stop the bifurcation of transit is a whole separate plan that has a separate outreach and stakeholder conversations, and our highway plan is over there. It didn't make any sense when CDOT's trying so hard to deliver a singular multimodal system. Why would we do two separate planning documents? So we really merged those two efforts so that when we were out having these county meetings, we were having one set of conversations, which is basically around how do you want to move people and what do you need? In some cases, that means shoulders and wider lanes. And in other cases, that meant they need more transit service. And then the last piece, also a really important change, and what this last bullet is really saying is we delivered a plan that has a list of projects for 10 years. And if you go to the next slide, I'll kind of show you how that comes together. So these are sort of the three set of documents that really comprise the statewide plan. And what I was just referring to is this 10-year vision. And so this is a separate piece within our long-term plan that sets out both our goals for the next decade, but probably really importantly for you all, a list of projects for the next 10 years. So at the back is a list of what we think we can deliver over the next 4 years. And that was based when we thought we'd have 4 years of Senate Bill 267 dollars, which we're still very hopeful we receive. So those kind of 4 years of funded projects, and then another 6 of projects we would hope to deliver if we got about the same amount of money that we got from Senate Bill 267, which is about $500 million a year. So this lays out a very specific vision and a prioritized list of projects that you all helped identify. The second sort of set of documents is that for the, we've got 5 MPOs in Colorado, but 10 rural transportation regions. They don't have a planning staff like the MPOs, so CDOT has a heavy role in developing their individual plans. So we've got 10 of those that cover every part of the state. And then the third piece is meeting our federal requirement, which is the 2045 vision. This is a narrative document, but it's organized around the 3 areas that our commission and our executive director has sort of framed all of CDOT's work. What are we doing to improve the condition of our assets, so the management of our assets? What are we doing to improve mobility across the state, and safety? And those are kind of our big 3. That's how this plan is organized and dives in some particulars on the importance of freight safety. We're seeing a lot of disturbing trends in pedestrian and bicycle fatalities. So that is sort of the narrative mother plan that incorporates the other 2 pieces I talked about. You can go to the next slide. So part of our obligation is to make sure that we put the final plan out for public comment. We usually do that for 30 days, but COVID threw us a curveball, as with everyone else. We didn't think that folks were probably in the mind space to think about transportation planning. However, so we extended it by 60 days to kind of give more time and really hit social media, email distributions, all those more online engagement methods. I think some of the language in our statute is sort of seems old-fashioned now, but we're required to put the plan in public libraries, and that didn't make sense under COVID. So we had to kind of leave behind some of those older ways of outreach that I'm not honestly sure even work that well, and really focus on social media. And I'll show you in a minute. We also took to the radio to connect with the Spanish audiences in public. So we had it out for 60 days and we got about 100 comments, which is pretty good, particularly in this time. And if you go to the next slide. We again, took the comments and put them into the buckets of how our plan is being delivered. So where was the public commenting on safety? Where were they talking about mobility? And where were they giving us comments on asset management? And I'll just point out a couple themes here. Got a lot of comments in the safety bucket on folks who still do not like roundabouts, which is understandable, but we're delivering those where we need to, and some comments around pedestrians and bicyclists, which makes a lot of sense. I will note we're also seeing a real uptick in motorcycle fatalities in Colorado right now, which is really disturbing. In the mobility area, this was a new theme that didn't come up when we did our initial outreach, but a lot of people were talking to us about reducing BMT. And purely my speculation, but I think because COVID has so dramatically changed our sort of relationship with travel to work, that I think a lot of people are starting to think about that differently and whether we need to be driving as much as we were before. So I think that's an area we may continue to explore as we have this plan done, and now it's time to actually start building the next one in some ways. So I'd like to tease that out a bit and kind of figure out what the public is trying to tell us there, maybe through some focus groups. If you go to the next slide on asset management, there's a lot of folks who were noticed that we have a distinct focus in this plan on rural pavement condition, which is a real trouble spot for CDOT. We've got sections of road out there in our state that hasn't been touched for 30 or 40 years. And I hear a lot, just anecdotally, people who, are Coloradans, but they have to go to Kansas or Nebraska for a trip, and they're driving, and they notice when they re-enter our state that you can often tell the immediate change in pavement condition at the border. And the data supports that. We're 47th in the nation for rural pavement condition. And I-76 and stretches of I-70 out east are some of the worst. They're also very, very expensive because of the extent of the repairs. So that was one of the themes we heard about kind of in this asset management section of the plan. So if you go to the next slide, I'll just touch quickly on kind of how we address these comments. As you all know, the challenge of receiving a bunch of comments at the very end of a planning document is it can be hard to try to incorporate those in a meaningful way. So, we cleaned it up a bit. And actually, if you go to the next slide, part of what we did is when we were hearing themes like this, we used even just pulling out key phrases and parts of the plan and putting them in bold, noting areas in the appendix a little bit better. You can see here we added another sentence on electrification, and just some cleanups and noting kind of the themes. And if you go to the next slide, one of the issues that we were pretty upfront about this plan is I think this is probably the first time in the nation's history, right, that we've issued a plan during a pandemic. We've had other pandemics in the United States, of course, but we probably didn't do transportation planning. So we were pretty upfront and have a section right at the beginning in the plan that says this is a strange time. When we issued this plan, VMT was down by 30 or 40% because we were all staying at home. And I would say, in addition to looking at what's going on with the VMT comments, this is kind of the other area, this sort of whether we've seen permanent and momentous change and kind of how people travel because of COVID. So when we come out on the other side, I think we want to think and explore this theme as well, and how that relates to kind of our North Star objective to deliver the 10-year plan. So we've noted that, and we have a cover letter from our chair, Karen Stewart, that also talks about, what an odd thing it is to release this plan during COVID. And like I said, I think we want to continue to kind of explore what's going on there with the way people travel. So if you go to the next slide, I think this moves us to the transparency. Last slide for me, and then I'll turn it over to Steve. But you know, planning's a failure if it results in a document that we put on the shelf and then just pick up in 4 years. That's definitely not what I want to see with this plan. It was way too much work and captures way too much input to not refer to it. So like I said, I think we want to continue these conversations. We're going to do a lessons learned assessment so that our 2050 plan can be even better than this one. I think we'll talk more about resiliency as well. Certainly with much of our state on fire, that's going to leave huge burn scars that are going to turn into areas very likely to flood onto our roads. We'll make sure that we've done a good job thinking about resiliency. And then as our commission continues to sort of reevaluate their priorities, which we reflect through few different policy documents at CDOT, we'll continue to be adjustable to that. All right, well, let me turn it to Steve to kind of walk you through how we're showing when we actually get to build projects, which we are still able to do. We got our second tranche of Senate Bill 267, another about $500 million. And some of those projects are already going out to add. So I will turn over to Steve and Carson, if you're on, I think this is where we want to pivot over to the website, but I'll let Steve manage that.
Yes, thanks, Rebecca. Again, my name's Steve Harrelson. I'm the Chief Engineer of CDOT. We've, in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, we've developed 3 dashboards that focus on the Senate Bill 267 projects and show where they're located, how much they're spending, what they're spending their dollars on, and also a manner in which we can filter it. So I'd like to demonstrate how that works. So I'm going to try to share my screen.
I will try to make you host, and then you should be able to share your screen. Bear with us, folks, as we make the transition here.
Well, while we're waiting real quick, I see that Jessica has her hands up. Jessica, do you have a quick question for the team?
I do. I was just wondering, I know when COVID first started, actually, I do agree that our traffic was way down. But as I think we've all seen, it seems to be kind of where it was before. Has there been any new data on that? And they don't have to answer that right now. Are we back where we were, close to where we were?
The number I heard just yesterday was 90% as of last month. So
wow, okay.
We're close, but not quite completely back.
Hey, this is Paul. I would add to that too, that like at Eisenhower Tunnel, we've actually exceeded last year's numbers in many cases.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think I-270 is back up to, it's like at 97, 98% of volume. So it kind of depends, like Paul said, on the segment.
Interesting.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think fewer people are maybe driving to work every day, but they're driving through the Eisenhower Tunnel.
Stephen, you should be able to share now if you try. You're the host, so.
Yep, there it goes.
Fingers crossed.
I'll share. There we go. All right. So can everyone see?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. So there's a website that's publicly facing, and I think the link is in the PowerPoint that we'll see in a minute. But on CDOT's website, there are these 3 buttons that show these 3 dashboards that I'm about to go through. I already loaded them. It takes about 30 seconds to load them. So rather than watch them load, I'll use my preloaded version. So the first one I'm going to look at is the program financial summary, which is this one. And it shows the entire program. It's all the Senate Bill 267, and there's a few Senate Bill 1 and other miscellaneous general fund transfer projects. But it's a $3.5 billion program that has got about $2 billion of Senate Bill 267 and other funds. And then we've also leveraged that with another $1.4 billion of other dollars. This dashboard shows what we're doing programmatically with those dollars. So, you know, statewide of the 3.5 billion, we're planning on spending 85 million of those dollars on right-of-way, about 280 million on pre-construction, which is design and environmental clearances, 2.8 billion on actual construction, and then another 388 million on indirects, which is sort of our overhead. So that's kind of where what we plan to spend, where we also are dividing it out what CDOT is spending and what is being spent by consultants and contractors. So these are you know, actual to date expenditures, and then the remaining to expend. If you're more of a graphical person, we've got pie charts and bar charts that show the same information. And then over on the left, we can bust it out by region, by TPRs and MPO. So if you wanted to look just at Dr. Cog, you could click on that, and it will spin around for 20 seconds probably, and it will parse out what's there in Dr. Cog. Hopefully, there it goes. So, you know, 800 million in Dr. Cog, 600 million of Senate Bill 267, and again, the breakout of what we're doing. So, you know, a portion of that's in Region 1, a portion of that's in Region 4. You know, you could check out what's in Region 1, and same sort of thing. So you can parse down and look at regional areas. See if that's going to go. And it just takes a few seconds to upload because it's going to the internet, the cloud. Yeah, so the bulk of the Dr. Cog funding, as you'd expect, is in Region 1. So when you get done with that, you want to go back to the original view, there's a reset button, and it takes you back. So that's that dashboard. I'm going to go to the other one, which is the program summary. So this would be the second one. And this is my favorite of the bunch. This shows all the projects. Again, it busts it out by region, it busts it out by TPR and MPO. It also has a geographic element. So if you wanted to click, you can hover over some of these projects. So this green one, it's I-270 widening from I-76 to I-70. It's in pre-construction. So the other thing that I like is that we have 90 projects in this pool of Senate Bill 267. Right now, 32 of them are in scoping, 35 are in design, 2 are under advertisement, so they're about to go to construction, 18 are in construction, and 3 are incomplete. So we can click on this construction tab, and we can see which projects are under construction statewide. So there's a whole list of all of them that are under construction. So, you know, I-25 South Gap Package 3, that's the one in Dr. Cog. It looks like that's the only one in Dr. Cog. Then you hit this arrow over here, and it takes you back to where you started. Again, no. Well, it's around. This is a little slower than usual. It usually goes a little quicker than this, but it's far better than nothing. You know, again, the fields over here allow you to filter in and find out, you know, if you're concerned with a particular geographic area in the state. There we go. Again, so let's go to Region 1. And it's going to tell us how many projects are in Region 1 and what their status is. And it also will zoom in on our map, I believe. We also have the graphical field. The light blue is that's the 1.4 billion of matching funds. The 2.1 billion is the Senate Bill 267, which we've only got about half of that. Oh, it's giving me. I'm gonna wait for it. That's all 4 years of the Senate Bill 267, which is about 500 billion of unfunded, and that is all on Floyd Hill and I-270 right now. So those are the two big projects. The internet is making me upset. I shouldn't have reset it. Anyway, I've showed you the general gist of what this dashboard can do. You can get in and play with it if hopefully your internet will be a little more stable than mine. The last one I want to show is a project summary page, and I'm just gonna X out of this one since it's clogging. The project summary page you can narrow it down again by region, and then narrow it down by and get a project list. So we're going to go to region 1, and hopefully this one will go quicker than the last one that blew up, and it will generate this list of all projects within region 1, and we can click on that. It's got the statewide list, but again, it's slow.
Hey, Stephen, it seems like there's a question in the chat. How often is this data going to be, the dashboard's going to be updated, or how does that data flow?
So in terms of the financial reporting, it is tied to SAP. So, in theory, it gets updated every day. The reality with project expenditures is most projects only charge once a month. So if we have, if a project's under construction, we will pay the contractor, around the 5th of the month most times. So, by the 10th of the month, it should be up to date for that month. It can change day to day, but in the reality, it's more likely to change over a month. So you can look at it over a month in terms of projects going to add and projects moving from scoping into pre-construction. That would happen, real time. But it's not, there's not going to be massive changes every day, but over a month there will be some changes. So here it gave me my project list. So these are all the projects in region 1. So I will click on I-270. It'll go, and it should give me, this will just give a summary of the I-270 project. So it'll have a project, why it's an urgent need, the benefits, and then a project website. Again, I apologize for my clunky internet.
No, and that's, yeah, and I know that those dashboards sometimes take some time to load. But yeah, I think that regardless, this information is very valuable, and something that, I think a lot of the folks on this call are going to be really interested in checking out every, and seeing how they update over time. So
right.
Yeah, no, these are fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing these with us. And the link was posted in the chat for everybody.
The link is posted, and the first two I showed have been live for about 6 weeks, and this one I'm in right now has only been active for about a week. So I would, it's the joke I like to say is that, this is a month ago we were still in MS-DOS. Now we're in Windows 3.1. So you might find some bugs. Don't be shy about telling us things that you don't, that seem clunky, and we'll try to address those. We recognize that it takes a while to work out the bugs and make this stuff intuitive. Our goal is so that it will be intuitive, that people can get in there and they won't need a degree in engineering or planning to figure this stuff out. We're trying to be transparent and get this stuff out. So if you get in here and play around and it's not working, drop me an email or drop Paul or Rebecca or whoever an email, and we can try to address any concerns you have. So the project fact sheet came up. It's just, you know, a little narrative about the project. It's also got all of the, you know, the funding scope. You know, this is one of the ones that's not completely funded. So we've got about, you know, 40% of it's funded, and we're looking for the rest. It's got the resident engineer. You can reach out to him if you know Adam. I'm guessing many of you do. TPRs, and it's also got a little map. So every project in the state is like this. So it'll be on here. Again, this is kind of a pilot program. It just shows the Senate Bill 267. Our goal is to have every project in CDOT in this system. So that's what we're working toward. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions, real quick on these dashboards from the group? Jessica, I see your hand still up, but I think that's from last time. So if it's not, feel free to jump in. It's okay.
No, I still have it up there. Sorry.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, it just didn't put it down. I forget.
Oh,
I'm on
okay.
the phone, so I don't see it all the time. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
thought you meant you had another question. I was like, go for it. All right. So I'm not seeing any other questions regarding to this dashboard. But thank you so much again for sharing this information. This is fantastic.
Okay, yeah, thanks everybody. I'm going to stop sharing now to the admin.
All right, and I think our last slide was just the contact information for the website. So I'm happy to entertain any questions. Chairman Wilka, if there's still time, or leave you guys here.
Yeah, we still have time. So if there's any questions, we do got time to ask a couple.
Actually, I did see Jean's comment about autonomous vehicles and striping, and one note I'll provide there is that is one of several reasons we're trying to stripe. I believe, Steve, I think every road in the state eventually with 6-inch stripes instead of 4-inch.
Yeah, there's certain, we are moving towards 6-inch stripes. There are some exceptions to that, you know, when there's, you know, multi-lane facilities, and our focus, I think, first is on 2-lane rural roads with 6-inch stripe. We think it's less critical on some of the urban arterials that have curb and gutter and such, but we are working towards much wider striping everywhere because there is a proven safety benefit to that.
And if I might, this Paul, I would just let you know, we've done already thousands of miles of 6-inch stripe in Region 1, mostly on the interstates right now. On the lighted urban arterials, it's not as critical to do that. And so we're looking at mostly interstates in Region 1. Most of them are already restriped at this point. So, and they look great. You should take a look when you're out driving around. You'll notice how well you can see these stripes now.
And autonomous vehicles can see them better too. So there's two benefits there.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Jessica?
I do have a question. I forgot about it. So I do have a question about on the I-25 North, where the new express toll road, the lanes are, the addition up there. So I think there's been some confusion on the exit for the 136 and the 144. Is there any way to maybe make that sign a little larger? We were on it a few weeks ago and just, I hadn't really thought much about it until we tried to get off for 144th and didn't notice the sign that said you had to get out of the express at the 136 exit. There is no exit to the other one. And I get it because you're that close to the Highway 7 or whenever it ends. It just seems like there's, for people who haven't been on that road before, might be somewhat confusing. And then you've got people crossing over the double line. I don't know if there's just a way to make another sign earlier besides the 136, or if that is kind of it, or if there's been any issues at all, I guess, with it.
Yeah, Jessica, that's a good comment on the managed lane we did from US 36 up to 120th. We went back through as part of our safety audit and upgraded a lot of signs, and we've got the right people on the phone here to take your comment and take a good look at that question. So thanks for the comment.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Well,
All right.
I'd just like to thank the CDOT team and Rebecca and Steve and Paul for being so nimble to come quickly to the NATA meeting today. I had told Rebecca probably 8:45 she'd be on, and manically texted her as we rapidly went through the agenda today. Want to thank you so much. We're so proud of this transportation plan. It took a lot of effort from CDOT staff to put this together, and the opportunities that this toolkit gives us to look things up and to make comments back to the CDOT team it's an incredible accomplishment, I think, and I just want to add my thanks to our team for coming and sharing this with us today, and to all of you who will benefit from this. Please use this, and then as Steve says, give us some feedback. If we're not capturing what you need to see, let us know. We're very proud of this document. So thanks very much for coming, guys. And Rebecca, as always, I'm always impressed with our team and what you're able to accomplish. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for your flexibility this morning, which we really appreciate it.
It's the best part of being at home. I was just sitting here drinking coffee, checking emails. So it was perfect.
Like, sure, I could jump on. No worries. That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much. So if there's no more questions for our CDOT folks, we do still have time. Does anybody have any questions or comments in general that they want to share with the group? Any updates from your community you'd like to share?
So Julie, if we could stop for 1 second and allow Deborah Baskett to make a comment. She brought to my attention something that's going on at DRCOG that would be of interest to NATA. So if it's appropriate, I'd like to throw it over to Deborah, please.
Yes, please. Deborah, enlighten us.
Hello. So I clicked on the agenda for the DRCOG board work session, which is always incredible intel and information about what our elected officials will be hearing about. Staff should be prepared to answer their questions in advance, so I take a look at that. Anyway, so next week on I think it's the 4th, whenever the work session is, there will be a focus on 2 projects that there'll be informational briefings provided. One is the I-25 corridor, and I call it tip to toe, all the way down south, all the way through our project area. All the way through not just the completed sections of the express lanes, but beyond and beyond to Fort Collins and such. I think it's just important for NATA members that rely on that road, that we're all together on this. Pay attention to that conversation and think about what questions you might want to bring to that particular forum. The second topic on the agenda for the DRCOG meeting is a briefing on Front Range Rail, which we've been paying attention to because we know there's a nexus to the N lines completion. So I just wanted to really encourage NATA members who are representatives to the DRCOG board to attend that work session and know in advance. There's actually, the packet has the slides posted, so there's pre-information for you to look at if you choose. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that update. Okay, do we have any other questions or comments from this group that people would like to share?
Okay, so I'll go again if you don't mind and let you know that we, for September, we'll have Front Range Rail come and give us a presentation. And also Nick Farber from HPTE will come and talk to us about a funding possibility for the I-25 corridor unfinished projects, and he'll come and give us an update on that. And in your agenda that I sent to you, I didn't update the next meeting, which will not be again today. It will be September 24th. So wanted to give everybody an update on that. So 2 very interesting presentations next month, and I think anything else that's added, we'll add it through SPC, but those are the two that I have. That'll be a very busy week for us with the end line opening on the 21st and a big NATA meeting on the 24th. Thanks, Julie.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, if I don't have any other questions or comments from this group, then I think that we are adjourned. I'd like to thank everybody for their time this morning and the continued work that we have and the great representatives we have on the RTD board that help fight for us. Thank you guys. There's so much going on, and it's great to have these meetings, to have these updates and to stay on top of the issues. So, all right. Well, thank you, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Bye. See ya.